Okay, now that we've learned how to calculate the unemployment rate and what groups of people go into the calculation of unemployment rate, let's talk a little bit more about types of unemployment because much like ice cream, there are different flavors of unemployment. So the first that we'll talk about is frictional unemployment. And we usually go U for unemployment and then an F for a frictional. And frictional unemployment is normal, right? It's people that are between jobs. So for on any given day, all across America, people leave jobs. Sometimes people choose to leave jobs. Sometimes they're, laid off. Sometimes they're let go. For various reasons, people leave jobs. But the inference with frictional unemployment is that you possess the needed skill set to then just quickly, kind of find another job. So frictional unemployment tends to be rather short term. Like here's a good example. My father-in-law left a job doing machine work. He was let go on a Friday, and by Monday he had a new job. Over the weekend, another company contacted him, and so he was frictionally unemployed for all of 2 days. When you graduate from college, you will be frictionally unemployed because, in theory, you've gained the necessary skill set to go out and find a job. So that's what frictional unemployment is, and it's a natural part of the economy. Structural unemployment S. So structural unemployment is unemployment where you've basically been replaced by technology. If you've been replaced by a kiosk or a robot, you're structurally unemployed. And again, the inference is that you don't necessarily possess the skill set that's needed within the current workforce. And so, structural unemployment tends to be a little bit more longer term. People stay structurally unemployed longer because, you have to go back and get training or go back to school or go back and sort of reacquire a skill set that's needed in the workforce. If you have an uncle that's a VCR repairman, he probably hasn't worked in a while and he's structurally unemployed, okay? But again, if you've been replaced by a robot, you're structurally unemployed. Cyclical. Cyclical unemployment is tied to the business cycle, hence cyclical. And very, very quickly, sort of a very, at a high level, understanding business cycles. So if you're talking about, output, there are periods of expansion where the economy is expanding, and then there's a peak, right? And then there's a contraction, and then a trough, and a bad trough, we call a recession, right? And in fact, the definition of a recession is two or more consecutive quarters of zero or negative economic growth. And that would technically be a recession. But cyclical unemployment occurs when there's a downturn in the economy and a recession. So if the economy is contracting and shedding jobs, right, that's tied to cyclical unemployment. Okay, so cyclical unemployment you would find again during periods of downturn, contraction, and recession. Not right. The cyclical unemployment's zero when the economy is expanding and firms are having difficulty finding workers. And again, right now I haven't checked the official numbers, but everybody's scrambling to find help. Or when I say everybody, firms are scrambling. Every shop in town has a help wanted sign, and so it's a fair bet that right now a cyclical unemployment is zero. Okay, there's seasonal unemployment. Seasonal unemployment is exactly what it sounds. It's tied to a season. So, like for instance, lifeguards. Usually, lifeguards work during the summer, and they don't work a whole lot in the fall and the winter. And if that's all you do, then you're seasonally unemployed. Mall Santa Clauses, right? If you're a mall Santa Claus, you work for about a month and a half. starting in November, maybe 2 months, November, December, and then you're unemployed for that job, at least for 10 months. Fireworks sales, things like that. That's seasonally unemployed. Okay, now we get to two other definitions that are important. So the natural rate of unemployment. Now, what does that mean? Does that mean there's no additives? And no, that's not what natural means. The natural rate is what I went back to earlier. Remember, I asked you what you thought the perfect unemployment rate was? And I said the answer was not zero, that a healthy economy has some amount of both frictional and structural unemployment at all times. And that is what's natural. So the natural unemployment rate is literally the combination of frictional and structural unemployment. And for our economy, that real number, the real natural rate for our economy is somewhere around 4 to 5%. So there will always be some amount, about 4 to 5% of unemployment in our economy because of that, right? Because there's always people sort of between jobs that have the skill set. There's always people that are leaving jobs that need to go acquire, new skill sets, and that's perfectly natural, which is why it's called the natural unemployment rate. Okay? Now, back to the beginning of last video. Remember, one of the goals is full employment. So, what is the definition of full employment? Well, as we've learned, it's not that everybody has a job. That's not what full employment is. Full employment is the natural unemployment plus cyclical unemployment, when cyclical equals zero, right? So you're going to say, well, isn't that the same as just the natural unemployment rate? Yeah, but the minor nuance here is that cyclical unemployment is zero, meaning the economy is not in a recession. It's not in a downturn, okay? But that is the definition of full employment. This is the goal for every economic system, is to be in a state where the economy is working at the natural unemployment rate, and the cyclical rate is zero. Okay? All right. I think that pretty much drains unemployment. Let's turn our attention to the next goal.